So John Henry went to the Chelsea game because, well, he was in London. He would never go to Liverpool. And
Right.
it was like a big deal because like he never goes to games.
Yeah. What a turd.
That guy sucks.
He sucks so bad. He's ruined the Red Sox.
No, absolutely. They're running them terribly. So bad.
Yeah.
It's awful. We should do the podcast. It's already 8:30.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, let's get into it. Maybe I'll cut all this stuff about how John Henry sucks.
Yeah, it does.
Or not cut it. Maybe that'll be the beginning.
He might hunt us down.
Oh man. The Globe will never
We
cover
don't
us
live
again.
too far away.
We won't be invited back on Nesson.
Yeah.
Actually, like a good starting point is if I was listening to this episode, if you're like me and you're a listener, which maybe, you probably are rushing to the forums to be like, this movie came out in 1962. You shouldn't count it for this theme month.
The real sticklers, yeah.
This is a 1963 release for our purposes, so we can say stuff like 60 years of James Bond.
Hell yeah.
Anyway.
That's kind of hard to believe.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Fewer movies than MCU.
Oh, yeah.
By like 3 or 4 now.
Well, I didn't even think of that.
MCU has over 30. I think No Time to Die was 27,
Yeah,
28,
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
The kind of things you'd expect someone doing a podcast about a James Bond movie to know, but that one's not the one we're talking about.
Yeah.
So whatever. Anyway, I don't know how to start the podcast yet, as you know. So it'll either be 60 years of James Bond or 61 in the UK or 70 something if you're counting the novels. Whatever. Shut up, Ian Fleming. You're not even alive.
Long dead.
Or something like, welcome to Late to the Movies. My name is Ben Holt, and this is a podcast where my friends and I get to fill in our movie blind spots. Each week we'll pick a film that either I or a guest hadn't seen before and really should have listened to by now. Really should have seen by now. That's what you do to movies.
You should have listened to it by now.
Yeah, you should have listened to it. You should have scrolled on your phone and just heard it in the background. This week, continuing anniversary month, our third episode, we're doing the 60th anniversary, of Dr. No, the first James Bond movie. My guest this week is Anthony. Welcome back.
Ben, what are you doing here? Looking for shells?
I forgot what her response is.
Just looking.
Just looking.
They said, no, just looking.
Oh, yeah, just looking. Ugh. And you're like, that dog. What a cad.
What a guy.
Oh, man. So, this movie, I have a lot of thoughts on it, but before we get there, it is traditional that we talk about anything fun or interesting or good you've seen recently. And you haven't been on since, the last time we talked about Sean Connery, last month. Anything good since then?
Yeah, I've been watching this show, Deadlock, on Amazon Prime.
Literally never heard of it.
It's like Australian, like a crime police procedural, but a comedy. It's wicked funny.
Yeah.
I highly recommend. I finished season 2 of The Bear. I binge watched it last weekend. Phenomenal. I watched 5 episodes in a row. I loved it.
I want to watch it.
It's so good.
I just gotta commit.
It's so chaotic. One episode, he just goes back. It's like a flashback of him having Christmas Eve dinner with his family. Insane. Yeah. It's just an insane whole episode. That was Jamie Lee Curtis is in it. Phenomenal.
People love that movie.
Oh, it's so good.
Show rather. People really love that show.
Bob Odenkirk is in it.
Bob.
He plays one of the uncles.
Oh, we love Bob.
Jamie Lee Curtis is the mother. So it's phenomenal.
That's great cast. That's definitely like successful show in season 2 stunt casting kind of stuff.
Yeah. But season 2, I think, is the rare occasion where season 2 is better than season 1.
Nice.
And Jamie Lee Curtis should win whatever the TV equivalent of the Academy Awards is for
Emmys,
this episode.
And also, weirdly, Golden Globes has a lot of TV awards.
Yeah. She might be nominated for one, for sure.
Cool.
In theaters, I've been dying to see Mission Impossible. I just haven't had a chance to see it yet.
Jesus, I mean, what a misplay by Paramount. They just totally put that. They only put it out the week before Barbie and Oppenheimer.
I feel like
they only got a week with IMAX.
It was so amped up. I'm like, I'm so pumped, and all of a sudden, Barbenheimer comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
it completely overshadows Mission Impossible.
WB's biggest movie ever
is Barbie.
Yeah. So naturally, it's already out on digital release on September 5th. Why keep it in the movies?
Yeah.
They're giving it a 6-week window.
Yeah.
It's made more money than the fucking Dark Knight.
They could have learned a lesson from Tom Cruise in Top Gun 2 and just keep it in theaters for 8 months.
The number one movie on July 4th. The number one movie on, I think, did it come out Memorial Day or July 4th?
Memorial Day.
Number one movie on Memorial Day and on Labor Day last year, which is crazy.
Crazy.
But nope, 6-week window for Barbie. Then it's just on. It's on your phone screen.
Yeah.
Great.
I haven't seen either one. Actually, all three of those.
Perfect.
But Barbie looks pretty good.
It's really good.
Yeah. Really good?
Really good.
Okay.
An easy 4 stars for me. I'm kind of working myself up to 4.5 as I think about it more.
Yeah.
It was really good, and I just love Greta Gerwig and
Yeah.
Noah Baumbach, and it was cool
to
see their very fully realized worlds.
Yeah.
And then Oppenheimer. So my thing I've seen recently is I went to see Oppenheimer again in 70 millimeter IMAX at Providence Place Mall, and still good. Still loved it.
Really?
It's solidly my second favorite of the year. Then I keep saying that and hoping someone will go like, "What's your first?" But in this case, it actually makes sense. My first is Asteroid City, which I think you've seen since our last recording.
I loved it. Yeah. I think that I know it only has a 76 like on Rotten Tomatoes.
People are stupid.
Yeah, I think that's one of his better films.
I think so too. It feels like the sort of perfecting's maybe the wrong word, or culmination sounds too grand, but it seems like he's gotten fully his sort of nesting doll narrative style down to a thing.
Yeah.
How, because French Dispatch did a similar thing where it's jumping between temporalities and timelines and entire, universes. I was trying to think of a different word than universe because that has such a different connotation in movies today.
Sure.
But I just mean like there's different realities happening.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a lot more cogent in this movie.
Yeah. Right. When the alien comes down just to pick up the rock, I'm thinking to myself, what am I watching?
It is played by Jeff Goldblum, but it's like a stop motion weirdo.
This was one of the greatest scenes I've ever seen in my life.
It's a real what the fuck is happening. Yeah, but that's a fictional. That movie is a fictional play,
right?
That even in the world of the movie, it didn't actually exist.
It's meta in meta upon meta.
Yes. I think the Bryan Cranston thing is the only thing that actually happened.
Right.
But who cares? There's some scenes in that movie that just blew me away.
Yes, it's just I think through and through it's just a really great film.
Speaking of Barbie, the Margot Robbie scene, she's on, her name's on the poster, but she's in literally one scene.
Yeah.
And it might be the best scene of the year.
Yeah.
It's just
she gives a little
flooring.
Yeah.
Absolutely floors.
Is that a soliloquy? No, what's that called?
Monologue?
Yeah, right, yeah. Not a soliloquy.
When she's doing the dialogue back and forth.
Right.
And I mean, Schwartzman is awesome.
Yeah,
He's so
excellent.
fucking good.
Yeah. Similar to the meta piece on that, another great show on Hulu is Only Murders in the Building. And Steve Martin and Martin Short are coming to the PPAC.
Yeah, I saw that.
I got to get tickets. But similar to the way you described Asteroid City, my favorite piece of writing in any TV show of all time, Oliver Putnam in Martin Short in Only Murders. He's like this failed playwright because he writes all these wacky plays. Yeah. And there's this giant poster that's a recurring theme in all 3 seasons behind him. It's a play called Newark instead of like New York. Yeah. I laugh every time. Whoever wrote that is a genius. Clever. You know what I mean?
Super funny.
I don't know. I don't know why it's just so funny to me.
That's another one that's like, well, people really like it. I should watch it. Then it's like, maybe I'll watch New Girl again and play FIFA.
You can't. I play FIFA, yeah, but New Girl's a great show, but you gotta up your game to Only Murders.
Yeah, the Bear.
The Bear.
I just like anytime I open Apple TV because I forget that I can't rent things from the Apple TV on there, and I have to go to iTunes.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, they put out another show with a bunch of A-list actors that I've never heard a person talk about. I really want to watch Silo because I love Rebecca Ferguson and Common, but I think David Oyelowo is in that too.
Yep.
And then I turned it on today looking, because again, I always forget that you can't rent stuff from the desktop version of Apple TV. And there's a show called Foundation. I want to say Foundation.
Never heard of it.
And it's got Lee Pace on the poster.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I fucking love Lee Pace. I'll watch that.
In Hijacked.
Yeah.
With Idris Elba.
I don't even know about this. That must have been the next tab over.
It looks really good. It's an Apple TV show. I'm like I don't have Apple TV.
They must be spending so much money on these like really high class shows. Yeah. And it's like, I mean, maybe Ted Lasso makes up for it. They probably have so many subscribers that they're just like, I mean, we got money. We'll keep making these huge, but classy seeming shows.
To tie it all together, Idris Elba, next James Bond?
I think they waited too long. I think he's too old. I think it's Aaron Taylor Johnson is the odds-on favorite.
Oh, really?
But then that was true for a while, but then there was some guy that I hadn't heard of that I believe is now the guy.
Yeah.
Again, the kind of thing you'd expect someone doing a podcast about James Bond to have looked up. Perhaps I'll Google before the end of the
have you ever listened to Smart List, the podcast?
No.
It's Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes, and Will Arnett. They had Idris Elba on maybe a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And they brought this up, and he basically said that he would love to do it. It's a real honor. But then, all the racism and stuff basically turned him off to it. And then that was it. Which is obviously incredibly stupid.
Yeah. That was just like a thing that got floated by people online. And,
right.
And he got backlash for a thing that wasn't even happening.
Right.
So he didn't get any of the good part of being rumored to be James Bond.
Right.
So it probably turned him off pretty fast.
And he's like a legendary actor. You know what I mean? Luther's a phenomenal show. The guy would have made a phenomenal James Bond.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think they just waited too long.
Yeah.
They want someone younger so they don't have to do old James Bond stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel he's a little old, yeah.
Especially the way that Daniel Craig's run ended.
Right.
That made it sound like it's something out of the movie. I mean, literally the way No Time to Die ends. Yeah. I think they want to have like a full reset to this isn't a guy nearing retirement. This is a guy in his 30s.
Yep. No, understandable.
We'll see. But I mean, I don't know. I think Daniel Craig's younger than Tom Cruise, and well,
right. That's
Tom
true.
Cruise is still jumping off of mountains.
Yeah.
I love Dead Reckoning. It was so good.
Yeah.
Just to circle back because I peppered that in.
I gotta see that. But No Time Left to Die. That's the worst. To me, that's the worst Bond movie I've ever seen.
Quantum of Solace is worse.
That's pretty bad too. Yeah, you're right.
Of the Craig ones, I think the Craig ones are all a step above a lot of other James Bond movies.
Sure. But James Bond to kill him that was the dumbest thing I've ever. That was so lazy.
If you don't know that about No Time to Die, then you clearly didn't care. I think
it's literally in the movie.
I think it's so. I'm just a context and what does this mean? Bigger stuff, and I think it's an acknowledgement of how much Daniel Craig owned that role, that it was probably he probably wanted to die.
Yeah.
Because he seems like the kind of actor that's always I want to die.
Yeah. Right.
Like Harrison Ford always wants his characters to be killed off besides Indiana Jones.
Right.
Because that's the only character he likes. Yeah. He wanted to die and he just wants to die all the time.
Yeah.
He finally got his wish in Force Awakens with Han Solo.
Right.
They made him come back for as a ghost in that third one, the 9th movie. But,
right.
And he clearly was I'm not shaving my beard.
Yeah.
I'm not cutting my fucking hair.
I'm tired of this crap.
Yeah. They're like, I mean, it's weird that your ghost looks like a different person from when you died. It's like, fuck you.
No, you grow hair in the afterlife.
I just want to smoke weed and crash airplanes. Dial of Destiny was fine. It was fine. The new Indiana Jones.
I heard it wasn't good.
Yeah, it was fine.
I think we brought this up on a previous podcast.
It has an ending twist. So I keep going back to the well.
Yeah.
Only because it keeps being relevant you guys
the twist is Bugs Bunny dies and then comes back. Oh, no. That's Space Jam 2.
I keep doing that because it's really funny to me. And I imagine nails on a chalkboard for anyone who listens to this. And I apologize. The Indiana Jones movie towards the end goes to a similar place.
Yeah.
Not of near death for the main character, but of a fully reality breaking kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you might be thinking, but in Kingdom of Crystal Skull, there's interdimensional beings that fly off
alien.
in a UFO into a wormhole.
Right.
And you're like, sorry, it's just so George Lucas doesn't attack us. They're not aliens. They're interdimensional beings.
Right.
They live in the space between dimensions.
Right.
As that one guy who's been muttering the whole movie says right at the end.
Yeah.
It's more wild what happens in this one.
Really?
And and the villain's Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah, no, a great
So
villain.
you get that.
Yeah.
It's just there's a lot of repeating stuff.
Yep.
The middle section of the movie is a really long car chase. But it's in there's a really long car chase, and then they're like, let's go to a different place that looks almost exactly like that place, and then there's another really long car chase.
Yeah.
Then there's a brief sequence where Antonio Banderas is there, and you're like, he's in this movie? And then he's not.
Yeah. Then he just disappears?
Pretty much.
He's too busy looking for Tony Montoya.
All right, let's talk about Dr. No. Dr. No Time to Die? I don't know. Not for this guy. Like every Bond villain, he does not make it.
Nope.
But that's starting at the end. Let's start at the beginning. You go first. Have you seen this movie before?
I've seen every James Bond film. So I've seen this movie. This movie's on TV a lot, I felt, especially growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So I have seen it. I just haven't seen it in a very long time.
Which leaves me, I had not seen this movie before.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen any Sean Connery Bonds fully. I've seen, like you said, they're on TV a lot. I've seen a lot of them.
Yeah.
But this is the first one I've like sat down and just like, rented and watched in a sitting. And obviously the only ones I've seen in theaters started with Pierce Brosnan.
Right.
I think I've seen every one in theaters.
Yep.
Since whichever one I was taken to first. Probably not GoldenEye because I was single digits years old.
Yeah, that was 95.
The one with Madonna in it, I remember seeing in theaters.
Oh, that's Die Another Day, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one I remember seeing.
Theme song for that one, yeah.
A lot of his movies had very similar titles, so it's hard to tell.
Yeah, Pierce Brosnan's GoldenEye, Die Another Day, World Is Not Enough.
Tomorrow
Never Dies.
Yeah.
That was it.
Oh, yeah. He did 4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 5. There's one more.
I think he did 4. Craig did 5.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And then 7 for Moore, 7 for Connery.
Yeah.
I think that's counting the weird after his run when he came back.
He came back for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's makes 7 or maybe that's 8 and we don't count it. I don't know. But that's just that is a thing I did look up and I saw a chart and I'm going by that chart.
Yeah.
Obviously 2 for Dalton, 1 for Lazenby, 1 for David Niven, technically.
Timothy Dalton, underrated.
Love Dalton. He's great. He's great in Hot Fuzz.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah. Living Daylights is an underrated Bond film. It's
really
pretty
good.
That. Yeah.
You might be picking up on a theme of I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
I
highly recommend.
Pre-Brosnan, I've seen very few. I've seen some of the Roger Moore ones because those are obviously a big-ish deal. Not like Connery, I guess.
I take that back. No Time Left to Die is not the worst
disrespect.
one.
No Time to Die, please.
No Time to Die is not the worst one. Live and Let Die. That's a pretty bad.
That one's bad. I think a lot of the Brosnan ones are pretty bad. And I guess it depends on your tolerance for like kind of silliness for Roger Moore. Yeah. Especially towards the end.
Yeah.
Once
they're very campy.
He gets old as fuck.
Yeah. Really old.
We should get into a 1-minute plot summary. Did you write one?
I did.
Go for it.
Okay. Colonel Arbuthnot, James Bond, gets set to the still British colony of Jamaica to investigate the death of Station Chief John Strangways, which I always thought was Strangeways.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute.
I started thinking about the Smiths.
By the henchmen of Doctor Who, the 3 blind mice. While on Jamaica doing James Bond things and trying to not become a clay pigeon, Bond teams up with Felix Leiter and Quarrel to discover that Dr. No is using Crab Island and a nuclear reactor to launch a radio beam to disrupt a U.S. space launch at Cape Canaveral. In an homage to Austin Powers, Bond foils Dr. No's plans and destroys his base, saving the world and getting the girl.
So I should say I'm not completely unfamiliar with the aesthetic via Austin Powers.
I was like, I know why I remember this film now.
Yeah.
It's the whole first film of Austin Powers.
Yeah, pretty much. Laser beams.
Yeah, right, exactly. even like the $1 million because Dr. No says
$1 million. That got a pop out of me. I was like, oh, fuck, that's where that's from. Because that's not one of the lines that gets pulled out of this movie. Super famous, has several very famous sequences.
Yeah.
Going in, hadn't watched this before beginning to end. Obviously, I'm aware of, Ursula Andress coming out of the ocean.
Right.
Singing her Shells song.
Yeah.
That's maybe the most famous bikini in film history, probably.
But not really singing.
No,
right.
Doesn't quite match.
Yeah.
But that obviously James Bond is in this movie.
Right.
In response to, I forget her first name, Miss Trench. Not a great
Sylvia
name.
Trench.
Sylvia Trench, an invention for this movie, not in the book.
Right.
And just.
But most of those first, in every Bond movie, there's always like a first Bond girl that usually dies or something happens to them.
She just hangs. She just doesn't leave London.
Right. And I don't think they're typically not in the book because I did read Casino Royale and some of them are not in it.
Yeah.
They're just added for the movies.
So we should say this is Dr. No is the 6th Ian Fleming novel of Bond. Casino Royale is the first one, but this is establishing a lot of things, some of which are from the book, some are inventions for the movies. And yeah, you're going through a lot of stuff, and you're meeting Bond, who when he's young, but he's mid career.
Yeah.
Maybe not middle, but he's not a rookie.
Yep.
He's has had some success. He's trusted. MI6 is like very shabby in this movie.
Yeah.
It's just like an office.
Yeah.
You put your hat on the hat stand. There's a desk, whatever.
Yep.
M is in his office, but it's not like secure.
Right. You just walk right in.
It's whatever exports or whatever is the cover, the front.
Commercial exports?
Commercial exports, yeah. I mean, that just sounds like a spy agency.
Right.
But anyway, we should start at the start, because this movie begins with him walking into the circle. It's supposed to be like a gun sight, I think. And
the first use of that.
And shooting it, it goes all wavy and the blood comes down.
Right.
Holy shit, the theme is so good.
So good.
There's such restraint that they only use it once every few minutes in the movie.
Right, yeah.
It's
because that
playing
as
awesome.
background.
Yeah. That music is awesome, is what I meant to say. The theme is so strong, and like we said, it's been 60 years. I still love that music. It's so good.
Yeah, you can't take that away. Whether you like or hate James Bond films, you can't take the theme song away.
Yes. Yeah. So while this doesn't have the later established formula of opening scene going into some intro credits song with special graphics happening, it does still have the theme playing over. I loved the graphics, the Dr. No logo. Yeah, I guess logo, sure.
Yeah.
That's it's the four letters, I guess, are switching around and stuff.
Right. Yep.
And all the dots moving around while the Bond theme plays. Now, I didn't like so much the rest of it, but it was fine.
Right. It's the highly stylized intro. Yeah.
Yes, but the highly stylized intro, they have that from the beginning.
Right.
They've got the gunshot and the stylized intro from the beginning, and it looks fucking great.
It looks awesome. Yeah. Really. Sets the tone for all the Bond movies' future.
Speaking of setting the tone, obviously there's some issues, whatever. I think this isn't struck work, right? We can the strikes are happening, but this movie came out 61-ish years ago.
Right.
So we're not promoting it, right? This is criticism. So yeah, I have some issues.
Yeah, right.
That being said, I loved this movie.
Oh, it's the best Bond movie.
Substantially better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was going to be kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
Having seen more of Roger Moore than Connery, knowing that Moore is like silly or whatever, I thought it would look cheap. I know that this was pretty low budget.
It was made for $1 million US or 392,000 British pounds.
Yeah, that's insane. $1 million, Mr. Bond.
Right.
I know you were wondering. I was wondering. That's got artificial light down here. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, it wouldn't be that. It wouldn't cost that much today. Anyway,
that was a good one. I just put that together. Yeah,
it's good. I thought it wasn't going. I thought it was going to look kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be like Connery's good, but everything else is kind of dingy almost, or it feels stale. I think it was going to feel stale to me.
Yeah.
Movies you see from around now. Obviously, there's wonderful, awesome movies that come out in the 60s and before. We've covered a lot of them now. But I just assumed this was like kind of, whatever. There's not really action movies yet. There's not really spy movies. This is kicking off a lot of that, especially the spy movies in the 60s and 70s. So you're expecting it to be like a really sort of basic and nascent version of that. It is.
Yeah.
But it also looks so good. That's what I was most surprised by, is how good it looked. The colors.
It's very clean. Yeah.
Are awesome. The whole sort of art direction, especially once they get into the lair, that's where basically all the Dr. Evil's sort of production design comes from.
Right.
Is inside his lair.
It's like a mirror image.
Yes.
Yeah. Even when the guys are bouncing around with the stupid plastic helmets, these guys are wearing the hazmat suits. I'm like, oh my God.
Yes, it's so funny.
I'm just laughing the whole time.
I was expecting there to be fembots in one of the rooms he was checking.
Yeah.
But it just looks awesome. I love how I use vibe a lot because I'm not like a real serious critic, and that's not a real word.
Right.
But the tone of the movie and the pace of it, I was really surprised by. Again, like action movies aren't a thing yet, right?
Right.
So it's not that shocking. I expected this to be slower than, Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
But I liked how not rushed. It felt like
right.
Even though Bond kind of he kind of clocked immediately what was happening, but also didn't really know what was going on.
Yeah.
And sort of was just going with stuff. I really liked that tone of just like, there's not a lot of score. I know I made the joke that like the theme's played every 3 minutes, but
right.
when it's not played, there's only a couple other pieces of music that happen.
Right.
There's a lot of just like,
and they all sound like the James Bond theme, the other pieces of music.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
There's a lot of just like natural sound happening.
Right.
Yeah. It's really interesting. It's a lot better than I thought it'd be.
Yeah. But he's also like very, I like how he's very cool and smooth. It's very established right away. He's always figuring out, the receptionist, she's obviously listening behind the door. He sets all the traps for the people in his apartment, right? So like that was very cool to watch. Yeah.
I think would know better than me, but I just watched like a quick, okay, what's the difference? Because I was curious, adapting the 6th book to be the first movie, there's going to be a lot of differences. In this movie, this book takes place after an episode in which Bond almost dies, and you're left at the end of that book thinking, I think it's From Russia with Love, that he might be dead. And so the opening of the book is a doctor being like, oh no, he probably should be dead, but he's not. And the rest of the book is about Bond sort of dealing with the uncertainty of having almost gotten himself killed and like not really being confident. And you don't get that from Connery.
Nope.
That is not the Bond Connery's playing.
Nor can Sean Connery play that kind of Bond.
No.
The guy's a legend. Yeah.
No, he is high status.
Yeah. Even in 62, he's high status. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. He's just like so smooth. And I mean, the Connery Bond especially, but really all the Bonds sort of get tagged with the sexism label, the chauvinism stuff. And that's in this.
Yeah.
That's here. That's present.
I feel like it wasn't as bad as it could have been for that time frame.
It's tough that he has sex with that lady twice, even though he knows that she tried to kill him and he always already put stuff in motion to like get her captured.
Oh, yeah. I forgot the character's name.
They don't make it important.
Yeah. That is true.
So that bit's tough.
Yeah, you're right.
But
that's a good point.
Who I don't know if that actress is actually Chinese, but her house is like has bamboo walls and shit. It's like I think they're laying it on pretty thick. But anyway,
even though the film's set in Jamaica, it has a Polynesian type of vibe to it.
It doesn't feel that much like Jamaica.
Yeah.
I wonder where they filmed. This was probably checkable, but anyway. It might be Jamaica, but you're right. It feels a lot more Asian.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
I don't. Yeah. I couldn't figure that out. Whereas in the later film in Live and Let Die with Roger Moore, there's like it takes place in like the Bronx or Brooklyn.
Yeah.
There's like a heavy voodoo aspect to it. It's probably like, I don't think, obviously definitely could not make that film today.
Yeah.
They go overboard on it.
Yes. But let's get into the plot a little bit.
Yeah. Well, back to one more point on that. One of my favorite shows is Mad Men. But watching this takes place in, obviously it's filmed in the 60s, and you just see, if I was a set designer on Mad Men, I'm looking at Dr. No and being like, we're copying this outfit, we're copying this set design, right? It's
you get a lot of like the suit fits word,
right?
Pretty much, I'm sure just ported directly over.
And this film it sort of like broke all kinds of records. It set the fashion trends for not only women but men.
It's just
like bikini sales went like through the roof. It like invented the 2-piece bikini.
Yeah. I mean, it's just must have been like mind-blowingly cool.
Yeah.
In 1963.
Yeah. In the States.
In the States in 1960, but for the UK in 1962. I'm sure this is everything that Austin Powers is riffing on.
Yeah.
Aside from the specific look in glasses, which is Michael Caine's spy movie where he's Harry Palmer.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why Michael Caine's in the third Austin Powers movie. Anyway. But the coolness. It's just, it looks awesome.
Even on Austin Powers when Scotty's like, why... What do you mean you're going to put him in the cell? He's just going to get out. Why don't you just kill him now? And that literally happens. Dr. No puts him in the cell, and he literally just kicks the vent down.
Yeah.
And climbs through it. There's one
a weird
fake explosion.
There's the electricity. Sometimes it's hot. Sometimes it's water,
it's
but not that much.
From the nuclear reactor.
So in the book,
Yeah.
I saw this too, which I thought was funny, is it's like Dr. knows all about how much pain can a person take.
Yeah.
And so he puts James Bond through a like torture obstacle course.
Yeah.
And so there's parts where there's like an electric fence and parts where
gotcha.
like he has to crawl through something that's burning.
Yeah.
Or he has to like hold his breath underwater. And so it's sort of all that, but then he kind of just pops out of the wall and you're like, oh, I guess that was just a weird HVAC vent.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's like, where was that water going if Bond just crawls out of
that's
wall,
true. Yeah.
a wall vent? But yeah, however, it's like specifically an obstacle course in the book, and there's like a bunch of spiders in one part of it. And then the final bit of it is he has to fight a giant squid, which that should have been in the movie.
Oh, that should have been in the movie.
The tone is way different if that's in the movie.
Maybe that's too goofy to put in a movie.
It's pretty goofy. That's a Roger Moore thing. It's what Yaphet Kotto. It's the guy from Alien who's a villain in a Roger Moore movie that gets like blown up by air, and he like balloons to the ceiling and then explodes.
Yeah.
Yaphet Kotto, right?
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I forgot what film that is.
I know it's more though.
Yeah.
Anyway, that wouldn't fit in this, but
No.
a giant squid would fit in that.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's playing. It's gonna butcher the pronunciation.
Yeah. Baccarat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Or
he's,
Baccarat, whatever it's called.
he's having
That's the main game that James Bond plays in all the books.
Baccarat.
Yeah. He only plays poker one time in Casino Royale. And it's not Texas Hold'em
And he's bad at it.
in the book. Yeah, right. Yeah. Well,
And
he
in
wins
the movie,
he
I haven't
wins
read
in
the
end.
book,
Yeah.
but right, yeah.
Yeah.
Once he gets back in it,
Yeah.
some help from Felix, who he
Yeah.
meets in that movie.
Right.
He meets Connery. Bond meets him in this movie.
Yeah. He's always the sidekick. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think this is the only movie that Felix is in. And I think this is the only one that this M is in. I guess I haven't seen that.
Yeah. It's Felix Leiter in this film is
Or maybe this is the only movie that this Q is in, because they don't even make a big deal about him being Q. He just shows up and gives him a gun. So
yeah. Well, they had no budget for the expensive
Gadgets.
trick gadgets. Yeah. So
He's just like,
Q
here's
is just
a different gun.
Here's a different gun, and here's this kind of
Here's
crappy car.
A
Yeah.
Volter PPK. And yeah, a kind of crappy car.
It's Jack Lord who plays Felix Leiter, who is Steve McDermott in Hawaii Five-0.
Oh, right. Yeah. It seems like it would fit him.
Yeah.
He's got those cat eye sunglasses.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I'm skipping around because I don't know why. Did I have sugar today? Probably. So they're playing the game. He's flirting. He says James Bond.
Yep.
He goes to work at 3 a.m.
Yep.
He's like, good evening. And M's like, it's 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Bond. You're going to Jamaica in 3 hours.
Yep.
And so he goes to get his things. That lady broke into his house. He's cool with that, I guess. And
Yeah. It's like he sets all the traps, but
Yeah.
he sees the traps are, somebody was fumbling through his stuff.
Yeah.
And he just goes to sleep. He's like, I'll have this glass of vodka and take a nap.
Yep. And I like that. I mean, I guess in his defense, he's told he has like 4 hours until his flight.
Yeah.
You don't need to get to the airport that early in the 60s.
Yeah.
Security's nothing like it is today.
Yeah.
There's probably less. There's tons less people
Yeah.
flying, fewer people.
Oh, I realized I went too far ahead. Different hotel room.
Different.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Sorry.
But anyway, yeah. It's nothing.
Oh,
he
yeah.
just has sex with whatever Trench.
Yeah.
Sylvia Trench.
Yeah. I think this
'Cause
film
he's
does
like,
a good
I
job.
got a little bit of time.
Yeah. It sets up the ridiculous female names for the later movies.
Yes, it does. And the fact that every woman just like wants to fuck this guy so bad.
Yeah.
It's all they
He's
can
a
think
sex
about.
machine. Yeah.
Is they're consumed with desire for him wherever he goes, whatever he's doing. So he goes to Jamaica. I love that they don't make it like overly exotic or anything. It's a lot of the movies just very matter of fact.
Yeah.
And I guess that makes it like feel really special once they get to Crab Island and then go and like into the lair where it's all like the 60s design stuff going on. It looks awesome, but for now it's just an airport. You don't know who Felix is yet, but you see that this guy clocks him. You see literally everyone is clocking that James Bond is here.
Yep.
He immediately figures out that this driver is not officially a driver.
Right.
I like this bit where they're on the road.
Cool car chase.
Good car chase. Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah.
I do feel like it is very early action movie where they drive
right.
in a straight line
Yeah.
and then he takes one turn and he loses him.
Yep.
But yeah, it's good. The guy, I like that it sets up this early that whoever this guy works for, it's worth like taking cyanide to not talk about.
Yeah, exactly. In a cigarette. Yeah. I love all the smoking in this film too. I love that. We got to do more of that in movies.
It's Mad Men thing too,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Where
Yeah.
Yeah, it does look cool when John Hamm smokes.
But I also like the driver. He's like, get out of the car. And then tries to take the gun out and just whacks him. And they do that like very 60s. He's like, oh, my arm.
Yeah.
Ah. Then he tries to kick him. He's like, ugh. They do this weird flip thing and the over exaggerated like arm twist. Yeah. And the guy rolls over.
One thing I thought was notable is he actually has like blood on his knuckles after he punches him. And like Bond is sort of like rubbing it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah. Wow. They're actually showing that there's some effect for him fighting.
Yeah. One punch. Though.
On punch. That's all it takes sometimes.
Yep.
He gets a martini mixed, not stirred.
Yep.
Later on, I think Dr. No says shaken, not stirred. But Bond never says shaken, not
never
stirred.
says it, yeah.
In this movie. Anyway.
But the bartender, well, the first bartender, he does specifically say, just as you like it, shaken, not stirred.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a doctor, like a research scientist. Dent, who I believe is not in the book, but is in this movie as kind of a sort of unwilling henchman of Dr. No.
Yeah.
A guy who seemingly was friends with Strangways, but obviously not really. Had something to do with the fact that guy's dead now.
Yeah.
So he's around. He gets called into a room, a very large room, where someone on an intercom yells at him. And then he takes a tarantula and tries to sneak it onto James Bond.
Yeah. Well, to back up just a little bit, though.
I know I skipped forward a lot. I know.
When Strangways, in the beginning, when it shows him playing at the British, very secret club there anybody can just sort of walk into, sure, I guess. Yeah. That's very similar to like Casino Royale, the beginning of that, when the two bad guys are playing cards, right? And then it's a very tropical setting. This is sort of like the same thing, light-colored suits. The guy gets killed. You know what I mean? I thought that was very like a cool thing to see.
For sure.
On. Yeah.
Yeah, there were a lot of things that popped up that were like not full scenes or sequences, but just like flavors that recur throughout the series that I didn't necessarily have the knowledge of the bedrock for before.
Yeah. Right.
The spider is so goofy.
Yep.
Just it looks like it's either fake or it's some kind of composite imaging because you can see it's not actually on Connery.
I was gonna say like there's no way that he let a tarantula crawl up his arm.
No, it looks in shots where you can actually see Connery's face. You can tell that it's just like a shadow projected on him, basically.
Right.
That kind of thing.
But it is crawling on somebody.
It's crawling on somebody.
Not Sean Connery.
Yeah, most tarantulas aren't they might be defanged, but for the most part. And I think most spiders, they're not actually trying to eat humans.
Yeah, right.
They just kind of want to stay the fuck away from me.
Yeah.
So
but I like how he's looking at it, and then it just crawls off his arm on the pillow, and then he like throws out the bed, and then he takes the shoe, and every time he whacks the shoe, it's like
the music stings when he hits it with his shoe. That's great. That was
I love that.
I had to laugh at that. That was fun. Wasn't expecting that, especially because there's not a lot of score for most of the movie.
No,
That was like a kind of tense, actiony scene.
Yep.
What I was thinking at this point is, approaching not quite halfway through the movie, is that a lot of this and a lot of what Bond is doing, it's not like, mining and, Lunch Pail Johnny stuff, but it feels a lot more blue collar than like the current image of Bond. He's not really moving through high class circles. He's working with whoever's around. And,
right.
I guess he's working like out of government offices, not like penthouse suites.
Yeah. Well, when he lands in Jamaica, the driver's like, "Where do you want to go?" It's like, "Oh, the government building."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Which one?
Yeah.
Oh, that one.
Yeah. So it's not. It just isn't as high class. Like I'm thinking of the Sam Mendes Skyfall. Did he do Spectre also? I was gonna say the Sam Mendes Bonds, but then I couldn't remember if he only did Skyfall.
Yeah.
But that's like exclusively in the most high class environments.
Right.
Or the most, top secret boardrooms and whatever special.
It gets, I think it gets like too sort of like techie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a good throwback to original, like it's sort of like classic spy work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotta get your hands dirty.
It's a government job.
Yeah. Right. Which is what
I guess that's what I was thinking. It's a lot more like a government job than
which is what it is.
Than like super special. Obviously, it still seems cool, but it's not like he's not given like the coolest car, and he doesn't really have gadgets.
Yeah.
He's basically a cop, which is what Dr. No derogatorily says later. It's like, yeah, I guess it's not exactly wrong.
Yeah.
He's like particularly skilled at a lot of things.
Yeah.
But he's not. He's not like Batman.
Right.
The whole sequence with the receptionist, who I forget, who has the bamboo house.
Yeah.
That sequence goes on a bit.
Yeah.
And
he comes
so
back
strange.
Yeah. Very weird.
It's just, it's really strange. It's not like bad, but you kind of just be like, this is weird.
He's asking whatever the head of the Jamaica branch is over there. Oh, give me the files on everything you have on Dr. No, which is also a bizarre thing to ask for because here you are in Jamaica. You know there's an evil genius on Crab Island.
Right,
and the guy's just sitting there playing cards, smoking his pipe.
Yeah.
You didn't think to investigate it?
No, that's not what he does, I guess. That's
he just
not
sits
his
there.
job.
And you don't know your own receptionist is a spy for Dr. No?
As is pretty much everyone on the island besides Quarrel.
Right.
And I guess Felix.
Yeah.
But he's not a permanent resident.
At the Tiki Bar.
Right, yeah. That guy's cool.
Yeah.
That's it.
Pussfellow.
Yeah.
Pussfellow. That's his name, right?
Oh, yeah. I think they said that.
Yeah. Because he's yelling at one point, hey, Pussfellow.
I didn't write down when this happens, but the sequence at night at the bar where it's the woman who's taking photos comes back around again. I thought she was going to come back later in the movie. The guy just let her go, and she's just like, well, I'll go buy a new film.
Yeah.
Try again tomorrow.
And she said something like, you're going to pay for this or you're going to be sorry for this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll be sorry.
Clearly.
You'll all pay.
Pay for my camera.
No. I didn't bring the camera. I just took the film.
Yeah, that's right.
But then we're basically in the end game now. After his time with the lady at the house in the mountains, he is late to meet up with Felix and Quarrel to take the boat over to Crab Island. There's a lot of...
But he sets up a perfect trap for Dr. Bent.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Dent.
Right.
Dr. Dent.
Yeah. You're totally right. That happens first. He kills Dr. Dent.
Yeah.
He does the thing that, speaking of 60s spy-themed stuff, Archer has a recurring joke about how Archer, the main character, is the only one counting rounds, and so he knows when the bad guy's guns are out of bullets.
He goes, he says like, "This is Smith and Wesson, and you've already had your 6.
You've already had your 6, and then he just shoots him dead,
and then shoots him again, one for good luck."
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, so that was a defenseless guy that you just executed, who was also like not involved in espionage.
Yeah,
he was just a doctor.
It's pretty dumb.
Yeah."
Can't tell it's a fake body under those blankets.
Yeah, not a very good doctor.
Yeah.
He was a rocks doctor.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's a lot. I think I'm no filmmaking genius, but to me, I think the reason that a lot of these night scenes look so trippy is because they were filmed at day.
Oh, definitely.
And then they just sort of darkened it.
Right.
That's why there's so many shadows, even though it's supposed to be nighttime.
Yeah, it's clearly filmed during the day.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not going crazy then.
Maybe at like dusk. You know what I mean? But there's still like a spotlight somewhere that's trying to capture these guys doing their work, you know?
It looks kind of trippy, but I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. And they're just on the island. They go to sleep just sort of in the trees, and he wakes up to Ursula Andress singing a song on the beach.
Yep.
Wearing a bikini.
What'd she sing? Coconuts? No.
Oh, something about something.
Mangoes.
Mangoes, yes. And I like his approach is to just start singing.
Yeah.
And I like that she responds properly by being super freaked out.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's a weird thing to do.
But which brings us to the best line in the whole film when she's like, what are you doing here? Looking for shells? And he's like, no, just looking.
You dog, James. That scene's very famous.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's probably the most, even she in like interviews has said, even though it is sort of like a sexualized scene, right? But she said that that's the first time for her.
She doesn't get to wear pants in this whole movie.
Yeah. But in the book, she's supposed to be nude.
Yes.
Yeah.
Aside from the knife.
Right.
On like a whole holster. That was the word I was looking for.
But she does say that opened up a bunch of doors for her, and she was able to pick her own roles after that, and she had a very successful career, and she's very grateful for being in that scene.
Yeah.
And she didn't take it in a way of like it's too misogynistic or something like that. So I don't know. I take that with I think this is a positive thing out of it, I guess.
Forever, if you're in film studies, this is the screenshot they use for the definition of the male gaze.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
One thing that is oh god, I just had it. It's gone. All right, is it here? Yes, here's something. One thing I was surprised about watching this movie, through for the first time. Ursula Andress obviously is like the Bond girl from this one. This scene being so famous. This happens more than halfway through the movie.
Yeah,
and it's her entrance into the movie.
Right.
The movie runs with credits about an hour 50, and this happens at an hour 02.
Yep.
So. I was surprised that it was that far into the movie.
Yep.
Really only like 45 minutes from the end.
Right.
The end credits aren't that long because they weren't back then, but still. But anyway, structurally I was surprised. And then you're just on Crab Island for the rest of the movie.
You're right. And her scene is also a very funny scene when he's like, oh, so what's your name? Honey. Honey, I forgot what he says.
Ryder.
Yeah. I forgot what he says after that, but then she says Ryder, and he starts laughing. She says, "What's so funny?" She goes, "It's a very beautiful name."
Yeah, just very, very pretty name. I think that,
but that's where you get like a lot of vagina from, and octopussy. You know what I mean? So it's,
pussy galore soon.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's so funny.
The Heather Graham one's Dixie Normus, right?
Yeah.
Just thinking of Austin Powers again.
It's so classic. I think in some ways Austin Powers is better than the Bond films, but in some ways it isn't. But some ways the comedic genius of that is just too good.
I would say so. Let's talk about Austin Powers. Yeah. So you're on Crab Island for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
I like that she's so protective of her shells.
Yeah.
But then when Quarrel's like, "Hey, they're like, there's a boat right there. They're coming." Bond is like, "Run with me," and he immediately grabs her shells.
Yeah,
takes the shells right out of her head.
Yeah, you got leave them behind.
Yeah,
we'll get you some new ones.
Yep. So they do a lot of hiding. They do a lot of walking around the jungle for the sequence.
But I love the boat. They're like, "Hey, stick your head out, or we'll shoot." Then they just sort of like shoot the beach up, and then they just drive away.
Yeah, as Bond says, he's like, they don't actually know we're here. They're just gonna shoot for a bit. It'll be over soon.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
And they announce what they're gonna do next. Oh, we're gonna come back with the dogs. Yeah. We'll find you then.
Yep.
You have no time to prepare for this. Hide in the water, quick.
They're hiding underwater. They're doing the like bamboo shoot to breathe, like a snorkel.
Which I feel like is a Looney Tunes episode somewhere I've seen. Yeah.
100%.
Bugs Bunny hiding from Elmer Fudd.
It's very cartoony.
Yeah.
And then they're wandering around the woods not the woods. They're wandering around the jungle for a while.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of bonding between. I think Ursula Andress is actually good in this movie.
Yeah. She's a great actress. She's just not talking. Her accent is. They deemed it too bad that they had whatever her name is, Nikki Vanders style.
Yeah,
overdubs her scenes, which is actually you can tell it's overdubbed, but it looks good.
Yeah, no, I think it works.
Yeah,
it plays. And then they go to it's day for night again.
Yeah,
and they find the dragon finally.
But the reason why then the locals are afraid of the island is because there's allegedly a dragon on it. And the dragon is just a tank that shoots fire.
Yeah, it's sort of garishly painted.
Yeah.
And again, it's a pretty low budget movie. You never really get a good look at it.
Nope.
Doesn't look that scary.
Right. Which leads to
you don't see it again because I think in the book he escapes using the dragon tank.
Gotcha.
Which would have been epic. And definitely it's set up for that.
Right.
But it's not what happens in this.
But as they're running around on the island, they're hiding, and this is the most absurd scene of the whole movie where Bond's like, "You shoot. We have these 2 pistols, and we're going to shoot this tank."
Yeah, he gets Squirrel killed.
Stupid. And there's one scene when he runs to the bush, it's him and Quarrel, right?
Yeah.
Bond actually shoots the gun, and you see the hammer hit the you see the hammer fall down, right? But the gun makes no sound. Yeah. And you even see the little puff of smoke come out the front.
Yeah.
And then Quarrel does like this weird thing where he falls backwards and then runs to the other bush up front. And Bond kind of looks at him like, "What are you doing?" And I feel like that was a mistake.
Yeah, there's something
they just
going
kept
on
it in there. Yeah.
it's a weird scene because they're just shooting pistols at this extremely armored tank, which just rolls right up to Quarrel and fucking barbecues him in a second.
And
you're like, oh fuck, that's a guy who's in multiple books too.
Yeah.
This is also where he dies in the book series.
Yeah.
But he's introduced way earlier.
But he has so much time before the tank comes to him shooting fire at him. It reminds me of that scene in Austin Powers where the guy with the steamroller.
Just get
like,
out of the way.
Yeah.
Just move.
That's the exact same scene.
Yes.
You see the tank coming at you, man. Just why are you standing in that stupid bush?
Mike McDonald's? Something McDonald. He was on Mad TV.
Yeah.
But yeah. Stop. You have like 45 seconds. Just move. We're going in a straight line.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I started dying laughing. I'm like, this is the dumbest. This was the worst scene of the whole film.
Too bad, man.
Yeah.
Quarrel was being brave. He
He
didn't
just
even
gets
want to
roasted.
be there. He gets roasted. And I was like, wait, is he dead? Because then they're just like, hey, come out now.
Yeah.
And Bond's like, well, I guess we'll just give ourselves over now. And it's like, oh, small consolation to Quarrel.
Yeah.
It's like, well, nothing really changed. You
Right.
could have just been like, yeah, we're here.
Right.
They wouldn't have killed your buddy.
Right.
It was really helpful.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That was so funny.
he gets captured. They bring him in. And I love this whole sequence. Well, okay. So the part that happens first, they go through like the decontamination thing. And you're starting to see the production design. And it does look awesome, I think. But then I love this. And I wonder if this is established in movies before that. I'm no film historian, but I love how it's like establishing the whole, we already mentioned Dr. Evil, but you basically have a really high class fancy hotel rooms to put your prisoners in.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Which feels like such a trope.
Yeah.
It's like, have some coffee and room service, Mr.
And the idea that the main villain is sort of this evil genius that lives in this very secret, elaborate lair that's decked
There's
out
like
to
200-ish employees.
Right, yeah. That's really like this. I think this movie is the first one to probably do that. Yeah.
He obviously has a separate like research and operations staff, and like also a hospitality staff.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's like, sure, I don't know why you have this super nice hotel.
We made you break fast.
Yeah. Weird. They're getting ready for dinner, but obviously first they have a little breakfast. They drink the coffee. The coffee's drugged.
Yep.
They just go to sleep and then they're woken up to go to dinner, and that's.
But Dr. No creepily walks in and sort of like.
Yes, he just wanted to check him out.
He lifts the sheet off of him.
It was like, okay.
That was it.
That's it. That's all he wanted to knock him out for, because it's not like they wake up and they're tied up or chained. No, they're just in bed and someone comes in and goes, all right, time for dinner.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
which is very weird because
whatever.
When you go back to Dent and Dr. No is chastising him for not killing James Bond, yet Dr. No has like 18 chances to kill James Bond, takes none of them.
Now you sound like Scott Evil.
That's what I'm saying.
It doesn't make any sense.
Scotty don't.
Well, he gets to a point where he wants to. Well, at dinner, he explains that, I thought maybe you were more formidable. Maybe I thought you could be someone who would.
I thought you were smarter than this. Yeah,
you're just a dumb cop. It turns out.
Yep.
Which, like, a little bit,
And then Sean Connery says, "I'm a cop, you idiot." No.
You mentioned Spectre.
Yeah.
Which is, you're like, oh yeah, Spectre. I've heard of that.
The special executive.
He's just got weird hands. I think he has like metal pincers in the book.
Yeah. His hands get burned off because of all the radiation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in this movie, he's just got kind of weird hands.
Yeah.
That are very strong. Which you would think it's like, no, you want your arm to be strong for punching, but no, it's just his hands.
Just his hands. Yeah.
They're very hard and strong.
Yeah.
And like if he accidentally is thrown into glass and his hand flies back, it'll break the glass.
Yeah.
That happens in the brief fight scene later. But yeah, he explains his evil plan over dinner because this is how these things have to be done. It's civilized.
Yeah. But Spectre.
Also, all this stuff rocks. Everything here, everything. I love all this bits. All these bits are good.
Just the interaction between the two of them. Yeah, it sets up every evil genius Bond, not just Bond, but every villain. They always explain how they're going to kill the protagonist. This is like maybe the first time it's really happened in this sort of way. But I feel like we have to tell the listeners what Spectre means. It's the Special Executive for Counterintelligence, Terrorism, Revenge, and Extortion. And then they rip off The Man from U.N.C.L.E. is directly ripped off from that. Yeah.
Oh, it makes sense. Yeah. I like the line where Bond's like, "Oh, if I joined, I'd have to be in revenge, and I'd have to start with the guy who killed Quarrel."
Yeah.
And Strangways. And he's like, "I thought you were going to be smart, but you're dumb."
Yep. And he also says,
"Soften him up. I'm not done with him yet." As he leaves.
Right. Another line I like. Bond also says while he's at the table that he's trying to he's sort of like playing into Dr. No's hands, but he's trying to recruit him to the good side. And he said, "Oh, we could use a scientist of your caliber," which I started laughing immediately because that's Austin Powers when he talks to the fembots. He's like, "Oh, I like women of high caliber."
Yeah.
And they have got guns in their boobies.
Yes. And it was also the kind of thing that Mike Myers does all the time as Austin Powers, where if it ends on a joke or entendre, he like pauses and kind of winks and says it.
Yeah, right.
And I feel like that was like some of your caliber was the same rhythm pretty much. I have we already talked about this part, but he's put in a cell because of course you can't just kill him.
Yeah, you can't just kill him. Yeah.
He crawls through the tubes. I do like that sequence goes on for a while and there's no dialogue and there's no score.
Yeah,
just the sound of Sean Connery climbing through tubes.
Yeah. To your point, it's very 60s action. Yeah, early action.
He pops out back in the decontamination room. He waits for a person in a hazmat suit to walk by. He, knocks him out and takes the hazmat suit.
Yep.
Goes into the place where there's a big countdown. There's also a lot of dials and levers and a pool that you guess is full of radioactive, really hot water.
Yep.
Or something. This might be explained and I just missed it.
No, it's a nuclear reactor.
Right.
It's like
It's just the water in a reactor. Right.
Okay,
that's what I figured. But I was like, I don't know. In my mind, I'm still going, did they say there were sharks with like laser beams on their freaking heads on in there or something?
Yeah.
But no, okay. It is just what it looks like. Never mind. But anyway, so all that's good. And that set looks awesome. I love how spread out everything is for no reason.
It's so awesome. Yeah.
The signs that say like, basically say like evil plan headquarters, more or less. Missile problems.
Missile zone. Yeah.
And the idea
contamination. Beware.
They're powering up their laser beam, but
radio beam.
Right. Sorry.
No lasers yet.
Laser.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their radio beam.
Which I don't understand. I think isn't that too far for a radio beam from Jamaica to hit Cape Canaveral?
I don't know. Radio waves travel.
Not that far though.
They travel all over the world.
That's true.
That's why they're used during wartime.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. Good point.
So one president
That's
said
a really powerful laser.
WBZ Boston, apparently you can hear at the White House if
really?
it's a particularly clear morning.
Okay.
Apparently, according to some certain presidents. What was I going to say? Yeah, and I guess you're not that far from Cape Canaveral in Jamaica. So yeah. What happens next is James is sort of just standing around and then eventually gets yelled at, "Hey, go over there."
Yeah.
And it turns out that's the perfect place for him to go.
Right. Go to the lever that says don't pull.
And he starts pulling it. He's turning the dial and there's a big arrow in the middle of a gauge that says like, this is the perfect zone. And he's just turning it until it goes way past that perfect zone.
He's overheating the reactor. Yeah.
Basically, he's going to blow up the island. People notice too late. One guy tries to push him away. He just pushes the guy away.
Yeah.
Then they fight a little bit.
He like does that like weird 60s flip over the railing.
Right. Yeah. All the alarms start going off, so it's chaos. People start running, but Dr. No runs over because he's like, fuck that guy in particular.
Yep.
I'm gonna make him die before I leave.
Yep.
And they have a very, very short final battle where Dr. No ends up in the water because he can't climb with his weird hands.
Right.
Back up the structure that was dipping the thing into the water.
And he basically boils to death.
Yeah, poor guy. He didn't give himself opposable thumbs.
Right.
Rookie move. So yeah. Then it's blowing up. There's a cool, it's really chaotic. He's trying to run out of there.
Yep.
Connery looks great with that ripped shirt.
Yeah.
He's looking for honey.
He's got that the ripped shirt with this really weird blood sort of cutout stain, but there's no cut underneath it.
No.
So where'd the blood come from?
It's someone else's.
Yeah.
he finds Honey on a ramp that would have slowly filled with water.
Yeah.
A nod to in the book, Dr. No puts her on, he like ties her to a rock or a beach or something where a bunch of crabs are going to eat her. And he wants to know like, oh, how long can she last getting eaten by crabs slowly?
Yeah.
But this is sort of a nod to that because she's chained, she's shackled to like a boat ramp, basically. That doesn't seem to be locked. He just sort of flips, whatever the thing is, and
the
gets
little
her out of
gadget.
there.
Yeah.
They run away. I like it's kind of like Dunkirk for a moment where you see people just sort of jumping into the water.
Yeah, right.
Everyone's lined up on the dock,
Even
just
the boat,
jumping in.
The boat was the same. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. They go onto a boat, kick off the people on the boat, and they boat away. They run out of gas. And she's like, what do we do now? And he's like, I know what we'll do now. And you're like, oh, James. So his plan is just to have sex until help arrives.
Yep.
Then help arrives.
Here come the Marines. Yeah.
In the form of Felix and the Americans. And then he declines the help, and that's the end of the movie.
Yeah, he takes the tow rope and throws it back.
Yeah, that's a good move.
Yeah, that's classic James Bond.
It's classic Jim B. Movie fucking rocks.
It's one of the best James Bond films. It's very simple and right to the point. Minus the tank scene.
The island and the blowing up and all that, and the alarms going off, very much the end of No Time to Die.
Yep.
Also.
Yep. Skyfall. When the house blows up.
Oh, sure. Yeah. They blow up Rami Malek's island. So.
GoldenEye. When the telescope blows up.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I was thinking specific to islands.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I got you.
But there's a lot of, I guess, just action
they
movies.
All end when they blow up.
Yeah, whatever the hero's fighting in is going to blow up at the end.
World Is Not Enough. Something blows up at the end of that one. That's with
The World wasn't enough.
Terry something is the main Bond girl. She's in the real Desperate Housewives, the TV show.
Hatcher.
Yeah, Terry Hatcher. Yep.
What's the Michelle Yeoh Brosnan one? It's the second one, I think. It's not GoldenEye, I don't think.
I don't remember. That might be. Is that Tomorrow Never Dies?
You might. I think it is. Yeah. What's the one that is Denise Richards when she's named Christmas?
I don't know. I have to look it up. Denise Richards is World Is Not Enough. Terry Hatcher is
Die Another Day?
Die Another Day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one, are the other Connery movies as good or in the same ballpark as this? And then importantly, do they look as good as this? Because I thought this movie looked incredible.
Yeah. Goldfinger is a great film. Mm-hmm. Thunderball is a great film.
Goldfinger, is that the Blofeld one?
Yeah. And Blofeld is a recurring Bond villain.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's the one with, oh God, why can't I remember her name? The guy who plays Loomis in Halloween?
Yeah.
In many Halloweens.
Oh, so Goldfinger is the second Bond film.
Oh, okay.
Gert Frobe.
Oh,
he's Goldfinger.
Okay, then I'm thinking of a different Loom. There's just been so many Blofelds, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of Donald Pleasance.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Donald Pleasance is.
It might be much later.
He's in A View to a Kill.
Okay. Yes, and then he's Loomis in the Halloween movies. Yeah. A lot of them. Not all now, but freaking a lot of them.
And Goldfinger is the film that introduces Odd Job, also known as Random Task.
Yeah, I'll be watching.
That's for our generation. That's like the greatest.
Random Task.
Watching this film, Dr. No, and like seeing how it sets up watching Austin Powers and seeing all the similarities. It just, I love, that was my favorite part about rewatching this film. Yeah. And like actually understanding it as a 37-year-old, you know?
I was thinking a lot, okay, I guess this is happening this month because it makes sense. This is unusual, but this is the second movie that I haven't seen before. And watching The Exorcist, having already seen way earlier in life, all of the scary movies, every parody that has come out of The Exorcist, of which there are, hundreds, probably. Right. And then it's weird to see the actual source.
Yeah.
And Robbie was talking a lot about that on that episode too, where it's just like, yeah, Scary Movie 2 just does this beat for beat. So it made it kind of hard to watch this.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, it totally makes sense that it makes that harder.
Scary Movie 2 is a great film.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best one.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take my good hand.
Yeah. Good cast.
No, but yeah, to your point, I hear you.
I was gonna have it on my list to talk about the Broccolis, but I don't want to.
Yeah,
It's whatever. They produce it.
Yeah.
Copy broccoli.
Yeah.
It's Barbara now, I think.
Yeah, she's like the granddaughter or something like that.
Yeah.
Or the daughter.
It was Broccoli and Saltzman produced it for the first bunch, and then I think it's just been the Broccolis.
Yeah.
With whatever, other studio they're working with.
Yeah.
For the rest of that time. I think are they all MGM?
I believe so.
Let's see if I can see a production logo on the Blu-rays, but I can't see from here.
Yeah, it's MGM.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I have the Daniel Craig 5 movie set on 4K over on the chair over there. Let's talk about Bonds and such.
But this movie has no real cue. I mean, we see him in the beginning, gives him the Walter PPK, which reminded me of just playing GoldenEye for about 14 hours a day as an 11-year-old.
Yeah, no, there's not a cue in this one at all. This one gets so successful, and I'm sure the next one has a bigger budget.
Yeah.
And they can afford a cue.
What did this make? Like $300 million on a... No, it can't be that much. On a $1 million cost?
I can tell you it grossed... So yeah, budget 1.1 million USD. That's insane.
60 million.
Looks good. That's a great return.
Right.
If you're talking about ratios, I mean.
Right.
This is good stuff. So yeah, what was I going to say? Connery's your favorite Bond?
Yeah.
Do you have a general ranking?
Yeah, I think it was Bond, Craig, and I think Pierce Brosnan.
Connery, Craig. You just said Bond, but it's so synonymous.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Connery, Craig.
Yeah.
I actually really like Pierce Brosnan. I think those movies are pretty good. I don't think he gets enough credit.
I think I rewatched GoldenEye relatively recently. I was like, this is really good.
I love A View to a Kill because Christopher Walken is a bad guy in it. So I think Roger Moore is the worst one. And I love Timothy Dalton because I really like the Living Daylights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lazenby was on Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yep.
Get out.
I forgot why he's only in one though. I think because he wasn't like good looking enough. Because he's kind of like a weird looking guy. He's got like these big ears and odd shaped head.
Yeah. I don't know what he looks like enough, but I did look it up before because I was talking about it with my mom. She's like, I do not remember what that dude looked like at all.
Yeah.
And I showed her pictures. She's like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not super striking.
But Roger Lazenby is sort of like a grittier James Bond. That one is like Timothy Dalton. Yeah. It's sort of like a grittier James Bond. Yeah. He would fit in today's what we think of James Bond because of Craig basically reinvented the role. So I think
they sort of bounce, it swings pendulum style.
He was too ahead of his time for 1987.
Great actor too. So.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I said they could have figured it out, you'd think, but yeah, it seems to go from like a little goofier or sillier to really serious, or at least that sequence was with Dalton Moore or more Dalton Brosnan Craig.
Yep.
So,
and Donald Pleasance is in You Only Live Twice.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But
cool.
But what would you rank
someone where he fakes his death, I think?
Yeah. But there's some cool the PPK thing, I think that was a cool scene.
Yep.
And this film's also, you think of Bond, they always have these fantastic Aston Martins or Austin Healey's or these classic British cars. I remember when they threw the BMW in, I forget which one it was, but there was like outrage. Like Bond does not drive a BMW. This is atrocious.
Yes.
He only drives British cars.
Yeah.
But in this one, he's driving a Sunbeam, and a Sunbeam Alpine specifically.
Huh.
That's why he can't outrun the hearse.
Yeah.
Because the Alpine Sunbeam is made by this like obscure British automobile company. It only has 80 horsepower and a 1.6 liter engine, so cannot run the hearse.
Yeah, he's late everywhere that whole day. It makes sense.
And it's the only sports car on the island of Jamaica. It's like one of three at the time. So they borrowed it from the person to film the scene.
Oh, that's funny.
Yep.
Um,
And it's also the car used by Maxwell Smart in the series Get Smart.
oh, cool.
And it's a direct homage to James Bond.
That's why I like doing podcasts with you. You look up stuff
Yeah.
or just know stuff. It makes my job a lot easier.
No
Appreciate
problem.
that.
You're welcome.
So I think when I started doing this month, and it's kind of out of order, and the connective tissue is bad because the sort of monthly question I was noodling on, which is still in the Roger Rabbit episode, I edited it down a lot because it just kind of got all over the place. But
Yeah.
it was sort of like, oh, let's talk about, the influence this has had, how movie making has changed since this came out, just to try and keep it on the anniversary theme. But I've been realizing like we that's sort of been threaded through everything. We already talked about a lot of the influences.
Yeah.
So instead, the question that I would rather ask, which I did ask in the Exorcist episode, was, what was it? I think it was like, just because I like talking about movies more than talking about something that's people aren't necessarily going to engage with, a movie that you watched because of this podcast. Was there have you ever been the person who hasn't watched something on something here?
Like after I listened to a podcast, I'm like, I should watch this movie.
Either that or an episode you were on. Yeah. Because there's been times that you were the one who hadn't watched.
Yeah. I didn't see Inside Llewyn Davis.
Right.
And I watched that because of this podcast.
Clueless was one.
Clueless. Yep.
Yeah. So
I never watched Moneyball. That was the first one I did. I didn't watch Moneyball.
Love Moneyball.
Yeah.
So yeah, what's been like maybe your favorite movie? Not even just from something that you feel like maybe you'll revisit, or you're just happy you've seen because of this podcast.
Yeah. Clueless. Yeah. I think Inside Llewyn Davis was a terrible movie.
I remember you thinking
I expressed that.
I think you still gave it like 3.
Yeah.
Stars,
Yeah.
3.5 maybe.
And Moneyball, I just think that it gets overrated because we're living that right now.
Yeah, but
I think it went too far, right? So to see
I just like Sorkin's writing.
No, yeah,
even though it's like conservative propaganda, not conservative. Sorry, moderate propaganda.
Yeah, but taking the Moneyball in a literal sense, having to watch Scott Hatterberg play is just I don't want to relive those memories.
Yeah, but hey, Bill James.
Yeah. Right, for sure.
And unfortunately, John Henry's trying to Moneyball Liverpool now, despite it being the biggest club in England.
Yeah.
I know that's not technically true in most metrics now, but hey, biggest club in most successful club in English football history.
But anniversary wise, seeing Clueless, that was and not really seeing it as at the time it came out, but having to watch it now was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, there's been a ton of stuff. So this week, top of mind for me is this movie.
Yeah,
I hadn't seen before, and I loved it.
Yeah.
This is something like I thought it looked incredible. So normally. I'm
glad I gave you that suggestion.
Yeah, I am too. It's only took me 60 years. Normally with streaming, it said it's 4K, but the movie's 60-ish years old.
Right.
And it's over streaming.
Yep.
And I was like, it's probably going to look like not, but it looks awesome on Apple TV, at least if you rent it and have an OLED TV. And run an Ethernet cable to it, so it doesn't have to do it over Wi-Fi. It looks really good. Makes me want to go get a 4K of it because I think it probably looks fucking great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I love the style, love the colors, love all the sets.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The colors are so good.
Yeah. And people actually had to I know it's a recurring theme, maybe on some of the podcasts that I've done, but such a tremendous amount of respect for the people that actually build these sets. That's not all CG or green screened, right? For $1 million.
We've been talking a lot about that, especially. But we talked in the Roger Rabbit episode where it's like, I mean, they made it so much harder for themselves because they wouldn't compensate and try and use because that's 88, that's after Poltergeist.
Yeah.
And there's, digital compositing effects with the stuff flying around the room in Poltergeist.
Yeah.
And Roger Rabbit looks so much better.
Right.
Doing harder stuff.
Yeah, right.
Because it's
totally.
the animated stuff interacting with people.
Right. I mean, and obviously too in Dr. No, they're not driving a car. Like it's obviously a fake background, right? That it's just moving behind them and it's still right.
It's fine.
Yeah. That's fine though, right? There's nothing wrong with that.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
You just get on its wavelength.
Exactly.
And like I said, it doesn't rush at all.
Yeah.
Which is so atypical for the way action movies are shot and edited now. There's some weird, and maybe this is just the print that Apple has available for rent, but there's especially, I noticed a couple times throughout the movie, but especially in the scene where they say her name like once, but the secretary for Strangways that gets killed in like the radio room.
Yeah.
In that scene, there's some really weird editing, kind of like jumps.
Yeah.
Where it seems like there's half a second missing, like someone goes from sitting to standing too quickly, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really happen throughout the movie.
Yeah.
But it was just a thing I noticed and felt like it was worth saying at the time.
Yeah, you're right. There is some continuity issues too, because when Bond grabs the driver of the car, he grabs him with his left hand and goes to punch him with his right. But in the very next scene, he has him in his right hand and he hits him with the left hook, because the scene's shot from behind the car. When he grabs him out of the car, and the scene's in front of the car, and then he punches him from behind the car. And I think they just forgot to
do it right.
do it the right way. Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. I didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah. And then the other one I said with the gun being shot and no sound coming out.
Yeah. So you said it had been a while since you'd watched this.
Yeah.
How long do you think?
Easily 20 years.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Oh.
Did
it hold up to your memory of it?
Yeah. I remember, I remember the Lair and Dr. No and the dinner exchange.
Yeah. Dr. No was only in the movie for about 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe, but...
No, right. But I remember, just the whole scene, and I really remember him coming to Jamaica and the interactions, obviously, with Ursula Andress.
Yeah.
All those scenes I remember, because TNT used to have like these Bond marathons where they just show every Bond movie every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just sit and watch a bunch of them. That's how I remember a lot of these scenes and whatnot.
Yeah.
And one thing I forgot to mention, also in this movie, when he's in Dr. No's lair, it's when they're walking up the stairs and he sort of pauses and he looks at the portrait of the Duke of Wellington.
Yeah.
So that's a famous picture painted by Goya.
Okay.
That it was stolen in 1961. So they wrote the script as saying like Dr. No stole the painting, and like Bond takes a look, he's like, oh, here it is. But they eventually recover it in 1965. So it's been found, but that was like a running joke at the time. Yeah.
We didn't do ratings yet, which is fine. We'll do them now. Every week, we'll take these ratings that we give here, and I'll put them on our Letterboxd. Late to the Movie on Letterboxd. You can find it. I've just made a link tree for this show, and I'm realizing now, forgot to put the Letterboxd on it, so I'll add that. That it links to the link to the link trees on Instagram. It's just linktr.ee/late to the movies. It's actually spelled out this time. No numbers. On a scale of 0.5 to 5, on any scale of your choosing besides stars, what would you give Dr. No?
Yeah, there's so many I think you could pick out of this one, but I'm going to give this movie 5 out of 5 seashells by the seashore.
Fantastic. 4.5 out of 5 Walter BBKs.
Nice.
There
yeah, nice.
There you go.
You give it 4.5 out of 5 sharks with the freaking lasers on them.
Shark with freaking laser beams on their freaking heads.
It's so funny.
Yeah, so I was thinking like, I should watch the rest of the Connery Bonds now because I I enjoyed this one so much. But after this conversation, I'm thinking I should probably just go rewatch Austin Powers.
Watch Austin Powers. You get a little bit of everyone.
I think I rewatched them all last year, maybe sometime in the last 2 years, and the first one was better and smarter than I remembered. The second one was worse and dumber than I remembered.
Yeah. And
the third one was pretty much in the middle.
Yeah. The first one's the best one.
By a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was surprised by how big the gap was.
Yeah, right.
First one is the best one by a lot.
Yeah.
But I think Goldmember's still fun.
It's right.
But it's nowhere near. Like the first one's actually like legitimately smart and has some stuff to do about him being so lonely and out of time.
Right.
And that's just not. Then the other two have time travel. They just take that whole dimension away.
Yeah, right. Well, two is pretty good too.
Whatever, Jay Roach.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I think he directed those. And then Bombshell, that Fox News movie with all the blonde ladies.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yep, that's his resume.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the same guy. So I am going to simplify things, hopefully going forward, by being able to say, just go to our linked tree. The easiest way to get there, actually, is just late to the movies _podcast. That's the number 2 on Instagram. There's a link to the link tree, which is linktr.ee/late to the movies, all spelled out with letters. And that goes to all our other stuff. We don't have a Patreon or anything. So if you wanted to give us money, instead donate to WGA and SAG funds for their strike. There's a bunch of people, a bunch of other unions and different industries going on strike now too. So, maybe it'll come come back to you in some way at some point. So yeah, donate to people who are striking right now. Fuck the bosses.
Yeah. Totally.
As always, that's how we're going to end. Fortunately, on that link tree, just because I still have to mention it, you can see one of the first things is podcast players. If you click that, drop down, scroll a little bit. That's how you get to Podbeans.
Gotcha.
Anyway, Anthony, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Pleasure as always. I had to, when we did all the cleaning, I had to throw out my my slide whistle.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Which I have played multiple Bond songs on before on this podcast.
Right.
It's gone. Maybe I'll clip in from the last time people didn't know what I was playing when I was obviously playing the Bond theme.
Yep.
And that's it. Thanks for being on.
Yeah. Never say never again.
Nice.